These are things to remember when you have a crush part 2. This is just to help you not romanticize him because let's be real, we all do it. You like the version of him that you created in your head. Play In My Head by Ariana Grande. The version of him you like doesn't even exist. You probably just like put your dream man and put his like face on it in your head. There's other girls he finds attractive. Honestly, that's enough for me to want to throw up everywhere. And also just go through his following list, because one time I thought a guy was cute and we were like talking and vibing, went through his following list, everyone he followed was blonde with blue eyes. There's probably a girl he considers the one I'll never get over. There was a girl that he liked so much that either he had such a fucking hard time getting over that he'll never forget that, or he's always gonna low-key like her but he'll never admit it. He has definitely at some point in his life talked about how hot other girls are with his friend, being like, yo, her ass is so fucking fat. You're probably embarrassed to show pictures of him to your friends, because let's be real, that's humbling enough.
Making your home modern and beautiful is easier than you think with 50/50 RGB SMD strip lights. Bright, uniform, ambient lighting for anywhere in your room. Use exactly the length you need thanks to the cuttable design. Waterproof properties and the use of double copper make them durable and long-lasting in all conditions. Change the colors, effects, and brightness of the lights thanks to the wireless remote or the app on your phone. Change the look of your home. Order now.
I'm sure I'm not the only one like this, but is anyone else just like super scared to like show affection or show like any type of emotion or like interest in anyone? I think it's like the trauma that I've gotten from doing that in the past. But like sometimes I'll ask my friends like, oh, what should I say to this text, like blah blah, and they'll be like, say this, but just so you know, it's gonna show that you're interested. And then I'm like, I can't breathe. No, I can't do it. And then they're like, it's okay to show that you're interested in someone. I'm like, huh? Question mark, question mark, question mark. Like, what is this? These are things to remember when you have a crush, part 3. This is to help you not romanticize them and help me not romanticize, because I also crush a lot. You have felt this way about another guy and now you're disgusted by him. Everything you're feeling at this moment, all the obsession, fantasizing, romanticizing, thinking about them before bed, you did this with someone else. Now you're so repulsed and disgusted and like yell at your friends and be like, why the fuck did you let me be obsessed with a person like that? There's another girl who would literally rather die than be with the guy that you are in love with. One time I was out for dinner with this friend of mine and she didn't know I was obsessed with this guy. But she brought him up and we were like talking about him. She was like, oh my god, yeah, he's so fucking disgusting. You couldn't pay me enough to be with him. Humbling. Another girl they would probably ghost you for in a heartbeat. Harsh truth, I know, but it is true. You know those classic, like, you're talking to a guy and then out of nowhere he just starts like ignoring you? And it's like because he met another girl. He could do that at any minute. You know how there's things guys say that are just like classic guy things that ick you out and just remind you that this is a man? He will eventually say something that will piss you off that is the most guy thing ever. Someone else commented this on part 2, but this is the most hair he will ever have in his life. Things to remember if you're ever feeling insecure. I hope this helps. Why do you think of the hottest girl you've ever seen in your entire life? A girl that you look at and you're like, that is the perfect definition of woman. Even she has insecurities, okay? I promise you, I've met so many stunning girls where I'm like, oh my god, they're literally perfect. And they still have things they hate about themselves. It doesn't make it true. People see your beauty the way you see theirs. There's certain girls you look at where you're like, oh my god, if I look like that, I would never ever be insecure. And you're like, how could anyone who looks like that have any insecurities? There is someone who feels that way about you. They tell themselves, if I had her nose, if I had heard this, if I had blah blah blah, I would not be insecure. Future you will feel bad for being so mean to you right now. You know that thing that was like, oh, look at your baby picture and like try, like you can't be mean to them. Like you can't be mean to baby you. When you're like 40, you're gonna look back at this and be like, oh, I was so precious. Why was I so mean to myself? No one sees your insecurities the way you do. You probably think it's something that everybody who looks at you is like, oh my god, look at that. 99% of the time, people will only notice something if you point it out. And even then, they don't see it as bad as you see it. Do you guys ever feel like you're mentally stuck at the age you were when COVID started? When I was like 18, 19, 20, I feel like I was mentally still stuck at 17. I'm having such a hard time coming to terms with the fact that I wasn't like a teenager in high school anymore and that I was like growing up. I was 20 when COVID started. Ever since then, I feel like I'm just mentally still stuck at 20. I turned 23 in less than a month. It's kind of been like throwing me into a panic because I don't feel 23. I feel like 23 just sounds like very violently old and I just don't feel like that's me. When I hear about someone being 20 years old, I'm just like, oh, so she's like my age. Nah, babe, she's 3 years younger than you. I know 23 is not old, but it feels like it's wrong. Like I don't feel 23 at all. And so many people around my age are like starting to get engaged and married and like some were even like fucking pregnant. Last time I checked, like that wasn't normal. That was like we were way too young and we'd all be like, yo, no way, she's like a teen mom. nah, it's very valid to be 23 and getting engaged. Maybe it's just because I lost like prime years, but it's just not sitting right with me. I don't like this. One thing I decided is I don't want to like anybody anymore that seriously, because when I do like someone for real, I literally become mentally unstable and I'm a piece of shit. I let myself have like little crushes and stuff, but that's about it because I can't handle anything more than that. If you find someone cute or like hot or whatever, I'm just gonna straight up tell them and kind of not friend zone them, but talk to them the way I would to my friends. It'll stop me from being madly in love with them. Because when I view someone as more than a friend, I'm literally like the stick is up my ass. I can't talk, I can't breathe, I can't move. I'm not even be myself. So when they ghost me, it's like I can't even be that offended because it's like you weren't even ghosting the real me. There's this one guy, he's one of my TikTok crushes, and I don't really have a type, but when I was in high school I definitely had a type of like tall brunettes with like green or blue eyes. He matched this type exactly, and I'd met him before, but when I started watching his TikToks I felt like even more madly in love with him because he was just so silly, goofy, and funny, you know what I mean? Then I met him in person again, and I like went up to him and I was like, hey! I had a little bit of liquid courage, which I was very confident in that moment. So I went up to him and I started talking to him and I'm like, I'm literally in love with you. And he's like, what? And I was like, yeah. And he was like matching my energy. We were definitely really hitting it off, and he starts going like, yeah, I'm hitting on you right now. And I was like, oh, I'm hitting on you too. And then one of his friends like walked by and he like grabs her and he's like, I'm hitting on her right now. So it was very much giving soulmates, love of my life. This was like at a Halloween party and he was dressed up as like Fred from Scooby-Doo, and I'd been dressed up as Velma like the other night prior. So I said that to him. I was like, listen, you're fucking Fred right now. I was Velma. We're literally soulmates. What are the odds of that? As if it's not the most basic costume ever. He was joking around with it too, saying we're soulmates. So we are. If you see this, I'm still in love with you. So this is your sign to just start telling hot people that you think they're hot, because you know what? Maybe they're the love of your life. I saw this girl post a video about how life just gets better in your 20s. I just want to say it's so true. Remember when I was a teenager, like 17, 18, whatever? I thought that was the peak of life. I was like, after this, everything's going downhill. Life's gonna get all serious. I was convinced like life just kind of stops after your teen years. I was in high school. I was so insecure. Like I was probably one of the most insecure people you'll ever meet. Really just like come into your own. Do the things you want to do because you want to do that. You know, when you're young, you're like embarrassed to like certain things. You're embarrassed to show your interest for certain things because it's like not cool, it's not popular, it's not whatever. All that stops. You just do whatever you want because you want to do it and because it's fun. I was a teenager. I really cared what people thought about me. I was always like, if somebody hated me, it was the end of the world, all this stuff. You're in your 20s, you just don't care anymore. You genuinely think the confidence that comes with like being in your 20s and just not caring what people think about you, liking what you like without being ashamed of it. There is like a certain like attraction that comes with that of just being unapologetically yourself. With just like, you know, the insecurities that come with being a teenager, you just don't have that. You mentioned having grown-up money, and yeah, literally like fuck. Being able to buy the shit you actually want to buy and do things you want to do. If you're feeling like everything sucks and there's no hope for life getting better and you hate yourself, it does. It does. I promise you it does.